Welcome everyone, this is Zozo Stockwatch, and let's get ready for the week ahead. Just a reminder, the markets are closed Monday for Memorial Day, and thank you to all that served. Markets are mostly at all-time highs, as you can see with the SPY, which is up almost 1.5%. The NASDAQ, represented by the QQQ ETF, was up to almost near 2.5%. The NASDAQ itself was up 2%. The Dow Jones Industrial Averages were up 1.32%. The IWM was up 1.11%. The IWC was up just under 1%. GLD was up 0.95%. Silver had a very good week. It was up almost 3% for the week on SLV, silver. Oils didn't fare as well. USO was down close to 2%, and UNG, which is the ETF for natural gas, was down almost 1.5%. The VIX, which is the volatility index, was down almost 19%, and this is a weekly chart that you're looking at. So the VIX was down, so volatility left the markets. Airlines were mostly up for the week. Transports were also up for the week. Transports were up over 3% for the week. So with the oil coming down, that pushed the transports up. Such things that were up were CSX and NSC. So these are two railroads. CSX was up 7%, and NSC was up 8%, two railroads. And some of the airlines that were up were, Delta Airlines was up 5%, LUV, Southwest Airlines up to close to 5%. So airlines and railroads were up pretty big this week. Some things that didn't fare as well was the IBB, which was actually down for the week, just under 1%. And the XBI was also down for the week, about 0.61%. So that's a little flavor for the markets. And what we're going to look at now are some of the stocks that fared really well for the week. And the first one was SPI, and what a runner this thing was. And let's go to a daily chart, you can see that better. SPI for the week was up 220%. This was a small solar company that really popped. PBYI was up 111% for the week, and as you can see with this daily chart, and here's the weekly chart, was up 111% for the week. GSOL was also up 76% for the week. TGI was up 45% for the week. BBBY, which was Best Buy that had earnings this week, they were up 15% for the week. SQ snuck up close to 12% for the week on SQ. INTU, which had earnings, was up 11% for the week. MRVL was also up 10% for the week. Deckers, the shoemaker, the Uggs, was up close to 14%. PRTY, Party City, was up 10% for the week. TCS, which is the Container Store, for the week was up 42%. Mankind this week, MNKD, was up 35% for the week on Mankind. COOL, another small name, was up 28% for the week. RADA was up 38% for the week, RADA. AEZS was up 37% for the week. Costco was up 4% for the week on Costco after their earnings report. TTWO was up 14% for the week on TTWO after their earnings report. PSTG came out with earnings, and they were also up 28%. NTNX was up 22% after their earnings report. BBRY, BlackBerry, was up 7% for the week. We also mentioned the airlines. Another one in particular, JetBlue, was up 7% for the week, almost 8% for the week on JetBlue. GES retailer was up 19% for the week on Guess. So that was up 19%. All right, now looking at some of the worst stocks for the week. We had ANW, oil name, and that dropped close to 50% for the week. DRYS was down 29% for the week. ARDX down 24% for the week. CERS was also down 22% for the week. ZIOP was down 10% for the week. TRIP was down 11% for the week. TRIL down 15% for the week. GME, GameStop, was down over 8% for the week. BRS was down 48%, and this is an oil and equipment services name. On BRS, down 48%. OOMA, after they reported earnings, the stock dropped 28%. AUPH, which a lot of people had their sights set on, dropped over 11% for the week on AUPH. NBR, a lot of oil names dropped heavy this week. NBR dropped 17%. NE dropped 11% on the name. RIG also dropped 9% for the week. Halliburton was down 4%. Another oil name that was down was Diamond Offshore Drilling, and that was down 10% for the week. A retailer that had earnings, Tiffany, was down 7% for the week. Back to another oil, we had NBR down 17% for the week. WLL, Whiting Petroleum, also down 10% for the week. MRO, another oil name, down 7% for the week. Cigna came out with earnings, the jeweler, and they were down 16% for the week. Zoe's Kitchen was down 22% for the week. BZH, a home builder, down 14% for the week. And NAT, North American Shippers, was down 15% for the week. So that's some of the worst stocks for the week. So that was the best stocks and the worst stocks for the week, some of them. And the other thing we're going to look at is we'll go through the big names such as Apple and just check and see what they did for the week. Apple was up a tad for the week, but holding strong, as you can see by this weekly. And we'll just take a quick look at the daily. So you see Apple still hanging out in the channel and showing strength. Let's go to Amazon. Amazon made almost new highs and almost hit that $1,000 mark on Amazon. AVGO, a leader in the semiconductor space, was up for the week. On this name, we were up 3% on AVGO, and they do have earnings coming out this week ahead. Google was up, 4% for the week. Facebook was up almost 3% for the week. Nvidia was up 4% for the week, over 4%. Netflix was also up over 3% for the week. Priceline was up 3% for the week. And last but not least, Tesla recovered nicely and was up almost 5% for the week on Tesla. Let me see, what else did I want to mention to you guys? All right, let's get into a little bit of Donald Trump. And he started out the week really well with a defense bill, actually with a defense arms deal with the Saudis for $110 billion. So that got the defense stocks moving up. Some other news that happened this week, the CEO of Ford was fired. And so I think he was the CEO there for about 28 years. And so we'll see, just take a quick look at Ford chart. Trying to hammer here, trying to hold this 1075 spot on Ford. The other news that came out was that I had mentioned was Amazon looking to hit that 1,000 mark. So we're waiting to see which stock will hit the 1,000 mark, Google or Amazon. Let me see what else. Oh, Trump released his budget for this week. His budget for the year for the United States. So we'll see how that's going to go. A lot of cuts in the budget. So we're going to see how this is going to affect. If he gets that through, is he going to still get health care through? Supposedly that they're going to be rewriting the health care plan. Is the tax plan going to get through? Because a lot of this market is up because they're hoping that the tax plan was going to be going through and the health care bill was going to be going through. So we'll have to stay tuned and see what happens. Bitcoin, let me see. Bitcoin fell sharply Friday, but it was up for the week, 40% on Bitcoin. And it hit a record high on Thursday on Bitcoin. GBTC is the trust or ETF, I guess, but it's a pink over the counter. But that was, let's see, for the month it's up 174%, and for the week it was up, let's see, for the week it was up 85% for the week on the GBTC, and that's the for Bitcoin. I guess they call it investment trust. So Bitcoin had a major week, and so the encrypted currency just kept moving up. So we're going to have to see it. Governments don't really like Bitcoin because they want to control their own currency. So we're going to have to see if this is going to last or if this is going to start taking a dive. Digital encrypted currencies are finding more uses. But like I said, we have to see if the governments are going to, allow this, and, because they can't really control it. So, is this going to be a fad on this Bitcoin, or is it going to be around for a while? We'll have to see. The other thing I wanted to mention was, with all the strength in the markets, they basically, ignored the terrorist bombing attack in Manchester, and the markets were up the day after the terrorist bombing. Now, I don't know if we're getting used to the terrorist bombings. I hope not. But that was showing real strength in the market that they could do that. So pretty amazing strength in the market. So we showed you gold and silver. I showed you the best and the worst stocks for the week. Let me see if there's anything else that I missed that I wanted to go over. We'll take a look at some of the major indices that I didn't mention. Let's look at the IBB because this one was the weak sector, out of all the sectors. And here's the daily chart of the IBB. And you see we have a low here on this candle of 285.91. We'll call it 286. So we're going to see how it reacts to this 286 area on the IBB. And then the XBI was coming down near the 100 SMA on the daily. And that's around the 68 area. So we'll have to see if it's going to hold this 68 area. And then after that, we have a low here of $66 for the XBI. And if you ever wanted to know, the XBI is made up of stocks such as some of the top holdings, VRTX, and let's just go through those. VRTX for the XBI, IONS is also in the XBI, and the BMRN is also in the XBI. Some stocks that are in the IBB are Celgene. And let me show that again. IBB, right? And some of the top holdings in the IBB, Celgene. And you see that's coming down to the 200 area SMA. Guild is also in the IBB, and that's just hanging around all-time lows. BIB, excuse me, BIIB. Try to talk and type, not so easy. That's down near the lows on Biogen, and Amgen is also in the IBB, and that's just staying under the 8 EMA currently on the daily chart, as you can see right here, this light blue line. So a lot of weakness in the in the biotech stocks. So we'll see what's going to happen with the week ahead. One thing I wanted to look at was also the dollar. All right, and let me just bring it up on my chart. Here's the daily chart of this is the dollar index, and we're trying to hold this 97 spot on the dollar, and the index for the dollar is the UUP. Okay, so that's the UUP, and we'll see what's going to happen with the dollar, if it's going to hold that 97 spot. Let's take a look at the SMH, because this has been the leader, and as you can see, it's up near all-time highs, and I'll widen this for you. So, you know, the SMH has been showing incredible strength, and we'll look at the weekly, and as you can see, it's basically, you know, at all-time highs on the SMH. What else did I want to show you guys? I went over the VIX. That was down. There's just no volatility in the market. The OIH, you know, that's down near lows here on the OIH. And things that make up the OIH are Schlumberger, and these are the oil and gas equipment. Schlumberger, Halliburton, Baker Hughes. And you see that these were all weak. Rig. Also down near lows, and so OIH, you know, not faring too well. In case you guys didn't know, ROBO is an ETF for automation. It's the automation index, and that's making all-time highs on the ROBO. So, you know, if you're interested in automation, you might want to take a look at that one. Just taking a look at the XLF for the banks. This is trying to hold this $23 level, as we spoke about in previous you know, charts, and we'll go and look at the daily real fast on this one. And here's the daily. As you can see, we're kind of just hanging on to this 50 SMA, the blue line here, kind of in this, you know, formation of consolidation. So you know, back over 24 would be bullish. And we have to keep an eye on that 2290, 23 area on the XLF. Let me see if there's any other things I wanted to talk about in this. We spoke about silver, and here's the daily chart of silver trying to break out over that 1650 area. Has the 50 SMA up above. All right, and then the GLD, you know, that's above some resistance here. It does have a clear path. Maybe up to that 123 level, but this candle kind of a doji candle. And the other thing I want to mention on the SPY that I didn't mention was, you notice the volume progressively, you know, slowed down for the week, but that could be expected going into, you know, a 3-day weekend. So this is just one to make note of the volume that went down, you know, each day during the week this week. All right, and here's that big drop. We went down to that 236 area. And now we're back up at all-time highs on the SPY. All right, so now let's get ready for the week ahead. Let me just check my notes, make sure that I mentioned everything that I wanted to. Best or worst, Donald Trump, Bitcoin. I think I covered it all. We went through Google, Tesla, Netflix, all up for the week. All right, so let's look at some earnings that are going to be coming up. Let's see, does that make it better? Yeah, I think that'll be better, that size for the video. So Monday, reminder, markets are closed. All right, not many big names on Tuesday, but earnings, we do have earnings coming up for the week. So starting on Wednesday, we get into some of the bigger names. Analog Devices, ADI is the symbol there. Michael Kors, KORS is the symbol there for Michael Kors. In the after hours on Wednesday, we have Palo Alto Networks, and the symbol there is PANW. Hewlett Packard Enterprises, HPE. Box, and the symbol is BOX, BOX. Ollie's, OLLI, the symbol there. Semtech, we have SMTC is the symbol for that. Then Thursday, before the market opens, we have Ciena, CIEN. We have Dollar General, DG. We also have Tech Data, TECD. So TECD is the symbol there on Tech Data. And then Thursday after hours is Broadcom, AVGO. VMware is VMW. RH, Restoration Housing, is RH. Lulu also has earnings on Thursday after the bell, LULU. Workday has earnings after the bell on Thursday, WDAY, and Five also has earnings, and that symbol is FIV. Before the bell on Friday, we have HOV, and that's Hovanian. So they're a home builder, and they're reporting Friday before the open. So that's some earnings coming out for the week ahead. The calendar, the economic calendar for the week. Obviously, Monday the markets are closed. There is some information coming out overnight for Japan on Monday. Japan retail sales, Japan unemployment, and Japanese household spending. For Tuesday, over here in the U.S., we got 8:30 personal income and outlays. 9 o'clock a.m. we have the Case-Shiller home pricing index. We have the consumer confidence index at 10 a.m. And the Dallas Fed meeting survey 10:30 a.m. on Tuesday. Not much Fed speak as last week, but we do have a little bit of Fed speak coming out for Wednesday. But prior to that, we have the MBA mortgage application, Robert Kaplan at 8 a.m. John Williams will speak at 7:30. At 9:45, we have the Chicago PMI. At 10 o'clock, we have pending home sales index. 2 o'clock, we have the Beige Book. Don't forget oil traders and people, if you're holding oil stocks, we have the API crude oil data coming out at 4:30 p.m. on Wednesday the 31st. On Thursday, let's see what we have here. Thursday, chain store sales, motor vehicle sales. 7:30, we have the Challenger job cut report. ADP at 8:15. So there is some, 9:45 PMI manufacturing. So we do have some economic information coming out. 10 o'clock construction spending. Nat gas on 10:30, and don't forget now, because of the holiday on Monday, 11 o'clock, the EIA petroleum oil status report will be coming out at 11 a.m. on Thursday. Friday, we're going to be getting the non-farm payroll at 8:30, excuse me. So that's the employment situation. So that's usually, a market mover Friday at 8:30. And then 1 o'clock, Baker Hughes rig count. So, big day Friday. And so we'll see how the market's going to go on those numbers there. So we did that. I think that's about it. So that's our earnings. And that's that. And I just wanted to show you this cool letter I get emailed to me every night, and the Biotech Week in Review. So it comes every day to your email box and gives you some highlights in the for the biotech industry. Okay, PBYI was a big winner. AERI was up for the week 36%. NBIX had news out, and that was down 12%. KITE announced, made an announcement Friday. So you can see this is a nice little thing that comes to your mailbox every night, and then on the weekend you also get a nice Biotech Week in Review. So I'll leave that up for a second, and you guys can have a look at that, and you can get that. It's the biopharmacatalyst.com news. All right, www.biopharmacatalyst.com. All right, and let me get this out of your way. The only thing I wanted to mention was the utilities, which I forgot to mention. And let me go to that real fast. And I noticed utilities are moving up. So if the market is so strong, why are they buying utilities? Why are utilities moving up? And you see, they're getting good volume too. So just keep that in mind. The utilities are moving up, and that's not usually what happens when you have a bull market. So I'm trying to think if there's anything else that I wanted to mention before I sign off. Let me just check. Oh, I know what I wanted to mention, and I'm bringing it up right now for you. Okay, so BBY we spoke about had great earnings and pushed up. The railroads we spoke about. Just trying to find my Barron's information. Some stocks that were talked about in Barron's for this week. I should say this weekend. And it's not coming up from him getting the buffering. Sorry, hold on one second. And I will find that for you. Okay, I found it. So some stocks that were mentioned in Barron's over this weekend, BOX, looks like it was mentioned positively. TEAM was mentioned in Barron's. FireEye also had a Barron's mention, and that's FEYE. So FEYE, BOX, TEAM, all mentioned in Barron's. SPLK also got a mention in Barron's. Let me see if there was anything else. VEEV was mentioned in Barron's, and PSTG also was given a mention in Barron's. Another stock that was mentioned in Barron's was LVS. Okay, LVS was mentioned in Barron's. Let's see, was there anything else on Barron's? We look real fast. Okay, and the main one that I was looking for was Ford was mentioned, and also is on the cover of Barron's magazine. And Barron's is confident the stock can turn things around, and even outperform Tesla over the next 5 years. And like I said, that was on the cover of Barron's, and so that was on Ford. And also that was mentioned in Barron's was IP, International Paper. Barron's believes the shares have 25% upside for IP. All right, and also on Yahoo, I don't know, they're being bought out by Verizon, but Barron's sees upside ahead with the company trading below its estimated asset value for Yahoo. All right, YHOO. So that was from Barron's over the weekend, and also looking to see if there was anything else that I missed. I don't think so. All right, guys, this has been Zozo Stock Watch, and this has been the video for Let's Get Ready for the Week Ahead. I'll be doing another video for stocks on watch, and that'll come up later in the weekend, either Sunday or Monday for stocks on watch. Thank you very much for listening. Have a wonderful Memorial Day. Once again, thank you to those that served. And don't forget, guys, the markets are closed Monday. Thank you so much for listening, and have a great weekend and day. And let's be ready, and we are more ready for next week. Thank you.